In Pursuit of Truth, this is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We are back, and we are picking up where we left off. And where we left off is where we're picking up. So pour yourself a pot of Pursuit and let's go. All right, first things first, I'm over here on my video page here. I want to show you a couple of videos if you have not seen them already. We are going to pick up from this video, my last video from the 18th, entitled The Buck Stops Here. Again, September 18th. If you've not seen this, I highly suggest you get some precursory knowledge from this video. And I also want to refer you to this one right here from the 5th. Infinite Chan, Impossible Foods. And it's a slightly different topic, but it kind of leads us into what we're talking about today and what we've been talking about. And it's a pretty gnarly topic, but it is something that we need to talk about because not only because of the importance of the subject matter, but for a very specific reason, which we will touch on in just a bit. So please, if you have not checked out these videos, I highly suggest that you do. And if you come over here to my video page, I just want to point out, they're all dated, but you may just have to hover your mouse over and you'll see right there the date pops up, and go over there and the date will pop up there for you. So anything that you want to research, you can go back and find that. All right, let's go. I'm over here on uncoverdc.com. This is entitled Grizzly Facts, Unmask, and Weaken Big Abortion. This is from the 18th, just the other day, written by Celia Farber. For days, I've studied the complicated story of the legal war between anti-abortion activists David Daleiden and Sandra Merritt, Center for Medical Progress, and the government in California, led by Attorney General Javier Becerra. A preliminary hearing is underway in San Francisco Superior Court, brought against Daleiden and Merritt, and set in motion originally by former California AG Kamala Harris. If convicted, Daleiden and Merritt could face up to 10 years in prison for faking their identities and recording damning undercover videos that expose the abortion industry's darkest secrets. The charges include 15 felony counts of illegal taping. And I want to point out, if you're not familiar with this story, this is actually, I cover this in the Infinite Chan Impossible Foods video from the 5th. You're going to actually see some of this video from Daleiden and Merritt, as well as some of their testimony, their experience in this process. So this is a weird thing, because we have this going on with Daleiden and Merritt, and we also have a similar situation with this James O'Keefe over there with Project Veritas. And it's a similar thing, this sort of undercover journalism. And it's a slippery slope, because I'm not really sure what all the legalities are going to end up being considered in regards to this case. This guy did go in there and give a fake identity and recorded this. But what he uncovered was a much bigger story. And it's not unlike O'Keefe, although he's dealing with big tech and stuff like that. But it's the same kind of journalism. So like I said, slippery slope. And I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts on this. But the point is that both have uncovered really big stories that are relevant and things that need to get uncovered. So it remains to be seen what happens with the Daleiden and Merritt, but 15 felony charges. And if you want to know more about that and see some of their video, like I said, go check out the Infinite Chan Impossible Foods. By now, we all know this much. For many years, abortion clinics, including but not limited to Planned Parenthood, have partnered with biotech companies to procure parts of fetuses after abortions. Biotech companies then obtain these fetuses for very little and sell them for astronomical prices. A haze of palatability, futurism, heroic medicine, and even morality hang over the whole thing as soon as we hear the word stem cell research. Indeed. And I suppose there is merit to stem cell research in part, but obviously obtaining it this way is very creepy. And what strikes me as really odd here is that we're picturing these biotech companies. And we're seeing them get bigger and bigger and more involved. Well, in order for them to do that, they need to have something to work with. So it shouldn't be a surprise that they are wanting to procure these parts. And once they get, addicted to that profit, obviously we get some hazy kind of stuff here in how they're obtaining these parts. That's really where it gets super suspect. These biotech companies are really, they need to have some sort of source to be able to work with, right? And we've seen this already. To get a sense of the macabre reality and details, one can download and read a Senate report titled Human Fetal Tissue Research, Context, and Controversy. And of course, this link will be down below for you so you can check out the report too. Page 3 spells out the grim business. Since 2010, 3 companies, Advanced Bioscience Resources Incorporated, STEM Express LLC, and Novogenics Laboratories LLC, have paid Planned Parenthood affiliates to acquire aborted fetuses and subsequently sold the fetal tissue to their respective customers at substantially higher prices than their documented costs. And we talked about STEM Express in my last video, the one I was just talking about, Infinite Chan. So go check that out if you want to know more. But we even showed you on the map their close proximity to Planned Parenthood as well as FedEx shipping centers. The details are harrowing and heartbreaking. On one day in June of 2014, the report states an ABR technician obtained a 20-week-old fetus at a Planned Parenthood clinic for which it paid the clinic $60. From that one fetus, ABR sold its brain to one customer for $325, both of its eyes for $325, $650 total, to a second customer, a portion of its liver for $325 to a third customer, its thymus for $325, and another portion of its liver for $325 to a fourth customer, and its lung for $325 to a fifth customer. So you can see right there, this was just one baby. And we've been finding thousands. And when these people are making this kind of price, they're going to start getting addicted to that too. And then morality kind of goes out the window. You can see why this is such a huge problem. ABR, the report says, procured the fetus at 9 a.m. at a Planned Parenthood clinic along with 3 others. By 1 p.m. in a 4-hour window, ABR earned $6,825 if you include service fees, shipping, disease testing, cleaning, and freezing where applicable. The ABR technician paid a mere $15 an hour, earned $60 during this time. Planned Parenthood's defender in the legacy media have pointed out that Planned Parenthood only charged the biotech companies modest fees to cover the cost of procurement, about $50 per specimen. But apparently the companies themselves do all the procuring with their own technicians on site, which means Planned Parenthood does in fact profit. Now, I'm going to try and cruise you through some of the gruesome stuff at least as much as I can today because I want to talk about the politics a little bit. But the next couple paragraphs go on to talk about Daleiden and Merritt, how they got involved in it, how they went undercover and this and that. But let's get to the politics of it here. Entitled The Smear, Planned Parenthood, for its part, unbelievably hired Fusion GPS to discredit Daleiden and Merritt. And of course, if you don't know who Fusion GPS, that is the same group that was paid to compile the Christopher Steele dossier for the DNC. How about that? Their 2017 report claims to have forensic evidence. The videos were edited to create a false narrative and even contained audio manipulation. Okay, well, if you've seen the video, and I've shown you some of that video, you'll see that that's really hard to do because a lot of these employees were speaking, it was coming right out of their own mouths. This claim has been proven untrue. Daleiden testified that prior to going undercover, he consulted with lawyers to make sure he could legally record conversations. He learned he could under California Penal Codes 632 and 633.5. Okay, well, I'm going to look into that myself because like I said at the beginning of the video, I was not aware of these legalities here, but it seems like Daleiden was already aware of this. One STEM Express witness testified that she sold a single vial of stem cells from an aborted baby for $17,000. In 2012, the scientific director for STEM Express made public remarks at a conference revealing that STEM Express went from a $15,000 loan company to a multi-million-dollar company in just 2 years. And like I was just saying, you don't grow that much without having some sort of product. And of course, that demand is going to get more and more. So that's going to lead to more and more things like we had with this story yesterday from this guy in Indiana who was found with 2,200 fetuses or baby parts, they said, really, but essentially it was bodies. It was President Obama's DOJ that made the decision to go after the whistleblowers rather than the potentially criminal elements of the organ procurement and abortion industries. Now, this is important here. Brian Caldwell, a special agent from the California DOJ, curiously first testified on September 10th that Aunt Loretta Lynch wrote to then California Attorney General Kamala Harris asking for an investigation into Daleiden and Merritt. Not into the Planned Parenthood situation, not into STEM Express or Novogenics, into Daleiden and Merritt. But on September 12th, he changed his testimony and said that the letter came from 4 members of Congress to Lynch and Harris. Representatives Jan Schakowsky, Zoe Lofgren, Jay Nads, Gerald Nadler, and Yvette Clark sent the letter requesting that they investigate Daleiden and Merritt to determine whether any laws were broken in what they call an elaborate multi-year scheme on July 21st, 2015. So why is Kamala so worried about this? Well, various chapters of Planned Parenthood donated a total of $81,000 to Kamala Harris political campaigns up to that point, and she was an open advocate and ally. Okay, so our tax-funded dollars are going to Planned Parenthood, it seems. And of course, they're just using it for political means. We already knew this, but now we're starting to see it. Keep in mind, Kamala Harris is running for president. Harris could have taken the pro-life group damning videos and pursued a criminal investigation of the body parts industries and Planned Parenthood, but instead, she chose to turn the hose on them for the damage they did to Planned Parenthood's reputation and business. And that says a lot about Kamala Harris and maybe even why she's running for president. Livid over the published sting videos, 6 Planned Parenthood executives called a private meeting with Kamala Harris in March of 2016, and 2 weeks later, Daleiden's apartment and vehicle were subject to a violent search and seizure in which 40 terabytes of data were seized unlawfully. According to David Daleiden, in April 2016, at the behest of Planned Parenthood, Kamala Harris ordered a search warrant served on my home in Orange County, he said in an interview with EWTN-TV. I think it was a total of 11 agents of the California Department of Justice sent by Kamala Harris came in and overturned my entire 1-bedroom apartment. They seized all the video recording equipment, all of my computer equipment, everything, all the electronics equipment that was used to do the undercover filming. Primarily, they were looking for the videos, and they were looking for the original videos we now have in the investigator notes from the Attorney General's office. Now they reported in their case notes, Planned Parenthood specifically requesting of Kamala Harris's office that they would specifically go in and seize the video from me. The videos from me. So they were trying to take all the raw footage away and trying to do a huge cover-up. They weren't successful in doing that, but that's just one of many things that Kamala Harris, as Attorney General of California, is willing to do to put the powers of her law enforcement office at the service of the interest of a powerful and favored political backer at Planned Parenthood. Daleiden also said in several interviews that Kamala Harris herself was hell-bent on destroying him. The abortion clinics, which have sued, claim that Daleiden's videos placed them at risk, though they never produced any evidence of any threats, and that he had heavily edited the videos to distort the truth. Okay, so I'm going to skip you forward a little bit more here and just basically talk about what's going on now. Outside the courthouse where Daleiden and Merritt face the 15 felony charges brought against them by the state of California, Horatio Mahit, attorney for Merritt, said in an interview with LifeSite News, Planned Parenthood is under the misapprehension that they are going to put Sandra Merritt and the other co-defendants on trial. What Planned Parenthood fails to realize is that it's actually Planned Parenthood that's going on trial. This trial that they brought against Sandra Merritt and the other co-defendants is completely meritless and frivolous, and the only thing it's going to succeed in doing is bringing these videos back to light, showing this jury the gruesome things, the unlawful things that Planned Parenthood did behind closed doors. This is a preliminary hearing, and while Harris and the state of California brought the suit, Planned Parenthood is losing a catastrophic PR battle every time a new witness testifies. The judge will decide if it should go further to a criminal trial, in which case Daleiden and Merritt could face up to 10 years in prison. The names of the 14 plaintiff does who have accused Daleiden and Merritt of eavesdropping and recording confidential information are sealed by the judge's order. Meanwhile, Daleiden's videos prompted 3 congressional investigations into Planned Parenthood, and that's really what's key, and 1 federal. Planned Parenthood, for its part, sent out emails instructing everyone to file police reports in their local jurisdictions. In December of 2015, Jacqueline Barbic, owner of a late-term abortion clinic in Oakland, California, sent a letter to the Attorney General demanding DOJ action against Mr. Daleiden, accusing him of an effort to put us abortion providers at risk of violence, according to legal papers filed by Mr. Daleiden. As of 2017, STEM Express and one other biotech company, ABR, along with several Planned Parenthood affiliates in California, came under federal DOJ investigation for the sale of fetal body parts. Okay, so this is pretty grim stuff. Now, I want to point out that this Oakland, California was one of the locations for this Impossible Foods, by the way, and it was literally across the street from Planned Parenthood. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that that's what's being used over there. I'm just saying it's right across the street. So we've touched on STEM Express before. I just suggested the previous videos if you need to check those out first, but we know that there was a connection there. We know that they were basically got caught by sending some things by way of FedEx. And again, I am not attacking FedEx, but I am pointing out that they were sending them from FedEx and that FedEx was involved. Wittingly, unwittingly, we don't know. But we do know that that's how stuff was getting moved around, because that's how it actually got caught by a FedEx whistleblower. Really, it was just one of these people at one of the receiving centers. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this Novogenics, which was one of the other groups that is mentioned here. And again, it's here's this multi-million-dollar industry, and this is just a LLC. And it looks like Ben Van Handel is the CEO of this. This is registered to a 1425 San Pablo in Los Angeles. And I want to point out that there is a video online. As a matter of fact, it's part of the videos that I showed you in the previous videos entitled Human Capital. It's episode 3, where you're actually going to hear about Dr. Ben Van Handel right here from Novogenics. And like it says right there at the bottom, so you know there are times after the procedure is done that the heart is still beating. It's pretty gruesome stuff. And like I said, I'm going to spare some of that for you. But if you want to check that out, go look up Human Capital episode 3, Planned Parenthood's custom abortions, and that has been Van Handel. But let me take you over to the googly map. Here it is, right smack dab in the middle of your screen here, 1425 San Pablo Street. Right above it here is the Zika Neurogenic Institute, and this is essentially a lot of USC territory, USC Medical School, things like that. The School of Medicine, Orthopedic Medicine. Right over here, actually, you've got Eastlake Juvenile Court, so probably a lot of disenfranchised youth around here. But this is Keck Hospitals over here, so lots and lots of medical stuff right in this area, and that's not necessarily nefarious, but I want to back you out a little bit, and I want to take you just about a minute away. Right down here, you can probably already see it. There is the Planned Parenthood Bixby Health Center, and really it's just about a minute away. Very creepy stuff. Now I got the map backed up here, and at the top left of your screen here, we can see my mouse is 1425 San Pablo Street. Just south of that was where we found that Planned Parenthood. And as you can see, I've got the route drawn out here. Takes you all the way out here to East LA to another Planned Parenthood, and it's really only 12 minutes away, 6.8 miles depending on what street you take, but really in LA that is not considered that far away. And here is another Planned Parenthood of East LA. Now let me take you back to this story from the other day in regards to this Dr. Ulrich Klopfer who passed away, and then his family members tipped off the police. They came out and found over 20, it says here 2,000 fetal remains. It was really more than 2,200. It was a lot of stuff. And this is from Washington Times. A county sheriff in rural Illinois said Thursday that the boxes and boxes standing inside a garage at a late abortionist home looked like they could have stored oil or motor parts, except that they held more than 2,000 fetal remains. In the 31 years I've been doing this job, I've never seen anything like this ever, Will County Sheriff Mike Kelly said at a press conference in Joliet, Illinois. Last week, the Sheriff's Department uncovered 70 cardboard boxes containing hermetically sealed plastic bags of preserving solution and fetal remains in the garage on the rural property of deceased abortionist Dr. Ulrich Klopfer. Okay, fetal remains, let's just call it what it is, bodies. We found bodies. Sheriff Kelly called the crime scene strange, adding that investigators are still trying to determine a motive. And that's my point. if you've got investigators still trying to figure out a motive here, and it looks like we're kind of drumming up at some sort of idea, but it looks like he was selling it off some way. It's hard for us to speculate because it was from 17 to 19 years ago without being able to talk to him because he's deceased, the sheriff said. It's hard to speculate what his motive was to bring them there. Now down here it says relatives of the deceased abortionist phoned the county coroner after September 12th after finding the boxes in a garage on the property where he had lived with his wife in Crete Township, Illinois. The discovery was made public a day later. Okay, so it sounds like the family found out and they were cooperating. They let them know. So I'm not so sure if they were involved or not. We collectively asked that the media not pass judgment on the Klopfer family, Sheriff Kelly said Thursday, adding that they have been cooperating with investigators. Yeah, I would imagine if they were a part of this whole deal, they wouldn't call it all, right? So Will County officials said there's no evidence Klopfer performed abortions on the property. They will hand off further police work to law enforcement in Indiana, where Klopfer operated 3 abortion clinics between 2000 and 2002. The time period the remains have been forensically dated to. Okay, so these evidently were gone back for quite some time. This is still an open investigation, Sheriff Kelly said. We've concluded what we can do here in Illinois. Finally, down here it says on Wednesday, South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg, a Democratic presidential candidate, talked to reporters about the remains, saying he hoped the discovery would get caught up in politics at a time when women need access to health care. Okay, well, if you watched my last video, we know that Mayor Pete Buttigieg knew all about this. Now, this group that was doing this, where this guy got caught, he was running a center called the Whole Women's Health Center. And right across the street, there was a pro-life group called the Women's Care Center. They were trying to set up shop, and they were having a hard time getting zoning. They were having a hard time getting zoning because of Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Simultaneously, he was trying to help this Whole Women's Care Center get access to doing abortions, even though they weren't licensed. Like I said, go back and watch my video if you haven't found those details yet. But that's what it's all about, and that's how Pete Buttigieg is wrapped up in this. Now he's hoping that we don't get all political about it. How about that? Well, I bet he doesn't, because this is all coming out right now, and Pete Buttigieg happens to be running for POTUS, and so is Kamala Harris, who wanted to lead this investigation into Daleiden and Merritt. Also implicated in that was, of course, Gerald Nadler. And, of course, what's he up to right now? Still trying to drag a whole bunch of minutia out in Congress. And, of course, that's a whole dog and pony show on its own. We're not going to talk about that today. But you can probably see where we're going with all this. A lot of these guys that are getting into politics and getting into running for president are likely doing so on the defensive, because when this stuff comes out, and I don't know if we'll see indictments, I don't know what we'll see, but we're definitely going to see some things that they're going to have to respond to, and they will likely say that this is just sort of some sort of political warfare, and that's what Trump's doing, just trying to drum up stuff. Well, the fact of the matter is that they've been doing this to conservatives all along, and now we're starting to see what they're really up to, and what kind of implications this has. So all I can say with this right now, thanks to all of you, especially in the area of Gary, Indiana, Fort Wayne area, for sharing your personal stories. I had a lot of people saying that they personally had protested over there, and that the staff over there was really quite cruel, and a lot of interesting stories. But at the end of the day, we see that this is big business. This doesn't just seem to be about the women's right to choose, and now we're getting political with this. And of course, Pete Buttigieg doesn't want us to get political, but the fact of the matter is that this is a really big deal, and these guys need to answer for this. But more importantly, I would like to request to you guys that you share not only this video, but the other 2 that I suggested to these investigators over here in I forget the name, Will County, because they're still saying that this is still an open investigation. So if maybe some of this research might be able to help them get an idea, maybe they could at least go check the local FedEx shipping centers. Maybe they could go check some of these areas that I pointed out in these videos, and they might be able to find some discoveries on their own. Who knows? Maybe this Klopfer fella has a record of dropping things off. Obviously, if he was doing something for money and he had all these body parts, he was taking them somewhere, so there must be some records there. So for my Indiana folks, I would greatly appreciate it if you passed along these videos. Maybe we could help really keep from seeing these stories come out again. All right, let's move on to something less creepy. And by less creepy, it's not really less creepy. It's just a different kind of creepy. It's Mark Zuckerberg. It's Zuckerberg creepy. He said no. Mark Zuckerberg meets Trump. Rejects call to break up Facebook amid privacy concerns. This is from news18.com. LifeLog chief executive Mark Zuckerberg met Thursday with U.S. President Donald Trump and members of Congress on a political reconnaissance mission to Washington, where he rejected calls to break up the world's biggest social network. Zuckerberg's visit comes as Facebook faces myriad of regulatory and legal questions surrounding issues like competition, digital privacy, censorship, and transparency in political advertising. A Facebook spokesman said discussions were focusing in part on future internet regulation. Senate Democrat Mark Warner, one of the lawmakers who has taken the lead in Washington on digital security, signaled they gave Zuckerberg an earful. The visit included a Wednesday night dinner with Warner and other lawmakers, comes after his stormy appearance last year before Congress, where he was grilled on Facebook's data protection and privacy missteps. Senator Josh Hawley, a Republican freshman and one of the more outspoken critics of Facebook, said he had a frank conversation with Zuckerberg, but remains concerned. Challenged him to do two things: to show Facebook is serious about bias, privacy, and competition, which they're not; sell WhatsApp and Instagram, which they won't; submit to independent third-party audit on censorship, which is not likely, hardly tweeted. He said no to both. Surprise, surprise! Trump late Thursday posted a picture on Facebook and Twitter showing him shaking hands with Zuckerberg, but didn't share details of their conversation, probably because he doesn't speak drone. Okay, well, I'm not expecting anything from Facebook, to be honest with you. Just like Google, look, this is probably going to be their last bit of hope for the unhinged left, if you will, as we head into elections. They're going to want to try and hang on to this internet censorship as long as possible. But here's the deal here from Chadwick Moore. This is huge. Facebook just admitted in a federal document that they are indeed a publisher, not a platform. Well, that is a pretty big deal. And they are demanding First Amendment protections from Laura Loomer's defamation lawsuit. This means Mark Zuckerberg lied to Congress. And I'll leave that down below for you there. But that's essentially what it is. And that's a big deal. If they are indeed considering themselves a publisher, then it's kind of a different standard, right? And look, we all know that Facebook gets tons and tons in grant money. We all know its origins in DARPA. And if you don't, I highly suggest checking out some of my older videos or just going and doing a basic search, not on Google. But we'll know that a lot of taxpayer dollars, just like Planned Parenthood, also went into Facebook by ways of grants and loans and things like that. That's how Facebook essentially got started. It essentially is this DARPA program called LifeLog, or really whatever you want to call it at this point. But this could be big stuff, so congratulations to Laura Loomer. I hope that goes well, and we'll see how this plays out. And finally, from Business Insider, in news that you totally didn't see coming, from a mile away, employee dies at Facebook's Silicon Valley headquarters in apparent suicide. One person died at the Facebook office building in Menlo Park on Thursday, according to the Menlo Park Police Department. The cause of death is thought to be suicide by jumping from the fourth floor of 162 Jefferson Drive, a Facebook building known as MPK 27. Police said they responded to a 911 call at about 11:30 a.m. on Thursday. The victim, an adult male, was found unresponsive. Firefighters and paramedics administered medical aid but were unable to revive the victim, the Menlo Park Police Department said in a statement. The victim was pronounced deceased at the scene. A spokeswoman for Facebook confirmed that the victim was a Facebook employee. We were saddened to learn that one of our employees passed away at our Menlo Park headquarters earlier today, the spokeswoman said in an email. We're cooperating with police in their investigation and providing support to employees. While the family is being notified, we have no information to share. Police said a preliminary investigation showed no signs of foul play. Okay, well, maybe not. But this person didn't just pass away. They jumped from a 4-story building. And not just a 4-story building, a 4-story building at 162 Jefferson Drive, known as MPK 27. And that sounds sketchy. And it just so happens to be on a day where LifeLog CEO, or whatever you want to call him, figurehead Mark Zuckerberg, just happens to be talking to POTUS and some higher ups in DC. And they're putting a little pressure on him. And of course, we know that President Trump knows exactly what Zuckerberg's up to. We know he's not naive. Who knows what really went went on with this conversation. I'm hoping that we'll hear more about this. It remains to be seen if we're going to see any actions. Like I just said, I'm not so sure that any of these social media companies are going to play ball. They're going to fight, I think, even if it means doing themselves in because of so much of what is at stake. Much of kind of like what we just talked about at the beginning of the video eventually kind of comes into play with all of this. So this is really sketchy stuff. But again, this guy jumped off a 4-story building at Facebook. Why would he do that? If he just wanted to commit suicide, he would do it probably quietly someplace else. Seems to me like this person wanted to call attention to Facebook. Now, who knows if this person actually jumped or whatever. I don't see any foul play. Police say they haven't seen any foul play. That's up for them to decide. But I find it very, very curious that this is all happening on the same day. All right, Patriots, that's all I got for you today. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. And I would greatly appreciate if you guys could help share those videos that I mentioned earlier. It would really mean a lot considering that there is an ongoing investigation and hopefully we could be of some service. So I would greatly appreciate that. If you're new to my channel, welcome to you. Please understand that from time to time, you're going to get unclicked and unnotified and unsubscribed. It happens all the time. So do me a favor, just click yourself back, re-notify yourself, and re-click yourself or whatever you've got to do. And if it's difficult finding my videos, I highly suggest bookmarking my page or doing whatever you got to do so that you can get straight back. If you're not getting those notifications, it will really help. And I find that searching IPOT or IPOT 1776 sometimes makes it a little bit easier. That being said, all my alternate links are down below: Gab, BitChute, Real.video, Brighteon.com, DropSpace, all that stuff. And I've got a new Gab. It's IPOT 1776. That's IPOT 1776. Same for my Twitter at IPOT 1776. If you're on Twitter, I highly suggest joining me over there. And I do a lot of other threads and other stuff when I'm not making videos. All that stuff is down below. If you have any information for me, please email me. I don't do any DMs on any of these social media platforms. That's just the way I do it. Please email me. My email is down below. My P.O. box is down below if you want to send something old school. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below. It's all down below, as well as the links to today's show in the video description. It's all down below. This is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay good boy.